welcome to Respawn Aim Fire. We have an exciting episode this week for you. Going to go through our quest log and look at all the new news stories. We're going to talk about the future.
Man, you're just jumping right into the business of this thing.
We are.
You're not even saying, hi, my name is Holden. You're not saying this is Chad. You're not saying, hey, we talk about video games.
If this we don't talk about video games in this podcast.
What if someone's listening to this for the very first time?
No, they're not.
They're like, oh, Respawn Aim Fire, got it.
Yep, they got it all. We're talking about all the news that went on this week. We're talking about the future of video games and the hurdles the industry has to tackle going forward. It's going to be great. It's going to be really exciting.
Holden, how are you today?
What's that?
How are you today?
I'm pumped to do this podcast.
You are pumped to do this podcast? Me too.
I'm pumped to do this podcast. I'm Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs right now about this podcast.
You're Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. I am chocolate for cereal too.
No, that was the advertisement. See, I'm Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs.
For Cuckoo Poops. That's not my joke.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. What is it? Oh, I'm Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's what it is.
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, yeah.
Yeah, Cuckoo for Cocoa. But
I'm Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. Oh, man. It's one of those days. I've had a long day. I'm going to mess up some words. It's going to be real silly.
Oh, no, you could do a drinking game to me messing up words during our recordings.
Oh, you know I don't drink.
You don't drink, but maybe people in our audience do.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Yep. But we start off every week.
I like doing this thing. I'm glad. I'm excited to do this podcast.
It's very exciting. Do you know what I like to hear, Chad?
What do you like to hear, Holden?
I like to hear what you've been playing this week.
Oh, you're so Playtime. Fucking considerate. So goddamn considerate.
Oh, wait, no, I want to go first. You don't get to talk yet.
Okay.
No,
What'd you play, Holden?
No, you go first.
All right, so this week on Playtime with Chad,
Playtime with
me, Chad. I played a few things. I jumped into Bayonetta on Switch. I saw that. This is the first time that I've played Bayonetta. I'm no stranger to Platinum Games, however, who developed it.
You were a big fan of Metal Gear Revengeance, if I remember. Huge fan.
Nope.
Oh, you were?
I played a little bit of Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, chopped up some watermelons, and I said, this game's not for me. But I did enjoy. I played Devil May Cry 4. I played a little bit of the other Devil May Cries in the HD collection a while ago as well. But Bayonetta is, at its core, it is Platinum action done beautifully. Like, the combat itself is so satisfying and smooth.
It's supposed to be one of the best action games you can buy.
It's fantastic. And if you're used to Devil May Cry, or if you're used to almost like Ninja Gaiden, almost like those button combo kind of things, this is going to feel very familiar to you. The biggest thing about this game is I am so surprised that it is a Nintendo game. That it is so, like, Nintendo's funding it, beating the doldrums on it. Like, this game, I feel uncomfortable playing this game. Well, I did it first, actually.
In what way? How is it uncomfortable?
Do you know, so Bayonetta is a witch.
I know she has guns for shoes that are guns.
Guns for shoes.
Yeah.
Guns in her hands. And her costume is made out of her hair. We'll get to more costume stuff in a second, though. But the game is so overt about sexuality. Like,
that's very Nintendo.
When you're fighting like a boss, the ending, like, finishing move is called a climax. And you hit the button combination, you go, ah! And then a giant, like, demon pops out of the wall and eats them, and but
this is the company that took blood out of Mortal Kombat.
Yep, there are so many like slow mo shots where she's like fanning her legs out, and you just get like 3 seconds of slow mo shot of her vagina, and her boobs are constantly.
They don't show her vagina.
No, but it's not like you don't see the lips. But her legs are spread, and you're looking straight at her crotch for nonstop for like 3 seconds in slow motion. But the game, I mean, it kind of embraces that sexuality in a like I am woman kind of way, which is cool to see. But it's
female empowerment.
It's one of those things that like I do feel I'm playing it in public because it's on my Switch, and I'm like, is anyone seeing over my shoulder right now? Do I have to explain to anyone?
Mommy, there's a pervert playing as a Nintendo.
So that part surprises me that Switch is so behind it. I mean, it's a cool game. I'm glad it's on their system, but it surprises me that they're like, Bayonetta 2, we're going to fund it. Wii U exclusive. Bayonetta 3, fuck yeah, put that on Switch.
I think I'd be more surprised if they had slow-mo shots of Mario's crotch while doing flips and stuff. That'd be more surprising, because it's not made by Nintendo. But I see your point. Like, they financed Bayonetta 2. They're financing Bayonetta 3.
Yeah. I'm about a quarter of the way through the game. It is. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I like the character of it all. It's very, very hokey in like an anime kind of way, but not like. I'm usually turned off by anime type stuff, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to play that. But it's like very hokey in a funny, stupid kind of way. So I enjoy that.
It doesn't take itself seriously, I take it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is part of why the sexualization of it isn't offensive. It's just like, oh, that's weird, and I guess kind of funny, but good for her. But part of what I like about the Switch versions is you have the option, instead of having her normal outfit, you have the option of playing as Slutty Peach, or Slutty Daisy, or Slutty Samus, or Slutty Link.
They're not called Slutty Samus, Slutty Link.
No, it's Mushroom Princess, or the whatever the fuck town Daisy's from Princess.
Okay.
Or yeah, but it is those outfits. But it's kind of cool, like the power-ups you collect, or like the currency you collect from defeating enemies changes depending on the costume you're using. So like if you're Peach, it's coins. If you're Link, it's rupees. If you're Samus,
cool.
it's something I don't remember. And then like your guns will change. Like if it's Samus, it's a beam cannon and it's shooting beams instead of the bullets.
That makes sense.
Link has the ability, like if you push the thumbstick in the direction of an enemy as he's attacking you, it deflects it with the high roll shield, which you can't do with any other outfit. So I mean, it's kind of cool. I like those little flares, and I've played a chapter as each one. She doesn't do the Daisy screaming, which I'm so happy for, because Daisy...
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay! I'm Daisy! I'm a slut! Like, that shit's obnoxious to me. I hate Daisy, but she was so good in Mario Kart.
That was the exact audio recording for Mario Kart, right? She said she's a slut in Mario Kart.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I heard Bayonetta 2 is better, so I can't wait to finish this when I get to Bayonetta 2.
I have heard that, yeah.
There's nothing bad about it so far. I'm enjoying it.
So,
I think it's kind of cool and fun and really
I'm not
combat.
a big action game fan. Like God of War, they're fun games, but I'm not like... I don't get excited for God of War games because it's not my style of game. This isn't going to sway me.
This isn't... it's not the type like a God of War... Like, the combat itself isn't like God of War. That's so hard because basically you're doing the same exact things. You're hitting a button combination and you have a bunch of different ones you can do.
You just don't have the Chains of Olympus.
If you play a Devil May Cry or Metal Gear Rising Revengeance or Bayonetta or whatever the other fucking one I mentioned was, they have a very distinct... Oh, Ninja Gaiden. They have a very distinct play style that is so smooth. God of War is cool and you have like different finishing moves and you can like smash somebody's face into the ground or rip them into pieces, but... They're different play styles, but it is very much combat focused. And the cutscenes in between, it's like you're in a big area, you fight some monsters, some cutscenes, then you go to the next space, fight some monsters, some cutscenes. So it's not very like explorative, but it's fun. I'm gonna get to one more. I'm gonna skip the second one that I wrote on the list, and I'm gonna go through the next four. I went to a friend of a friend's house. First of all, I went to go see the movie Game Night. Very fun movie. As soon as I got out of the movie, I got a phone call from a friend who said, hey, like immediately after I got out of the movie, he said, hey, so I have this game night. And I thought it was a joke. I was like, did I tell you I was going to go see Game Night? He's like, I have this game night. Nobody showed up. Or not nobody showed up, but there were a few people who won't be able to come. So it's at my friend's place. So it was a friend of a friend. I was like, yeah, this is going to be awkward, but sure, I'll go because you're my friend. And I went, and it was actually a ton of fun. But at this game night, they do this monthly, and they play a bunch of, like smaller, indie, more social type games. And I've always, for the most part, been a single-player type person, and I've never been, like, a social gamer. I've occasionally have friends over, but I've never been into these smaller games that now I just have a little bit more of appreciation for. The first one we played
I saw one of these on here, and I've played one of these for sure.
Windjammers is the first one we played. And it's like it looks like straight up if you took Street Fighter and looked at it from the top down, and instead of fighting, you're like playing frisbee golf. Or not frisbee golf, like more like frisbee soccer. But it's like with these stupid exaggerated characters from different countries, and they all have stupid sunglasses on, and they have power moves, and you can throw it. But it's just a fun-ass time, and it's really simple, so everybody there, like not everybody there was a gamer. All you have to do is hit the square button and move. That's it. So that was super fun, and to just be in a room of people playing that and trading the controller back and forth. We played Puyo Puyo Tetris. That was super fun too. Like, Tetris to me as a single-player game is boring as fuck, and Puyo Puyo, which is basically Dr. Robotnik's Mean Green Machine from way back in the Genesis and Game Gear games, was kind of fun. But in this one, it switches back and forth automatically, and then whatever the other players do like affects your game. So that's also super fun to play in a group.
I never understood that, though. Like, I never understood how what I do on my Tetris board or Puyo Puyo board, how it impacts the other player. I never understood.
So what? Like, one of them was, if I got a Tetris, which is when you get 4 lines in a row.
Yeah.
If I got a Tetris, that adds 4 lines to everybody else's screen. Oh. Or if I got a chain of 3 Puyo, I feel so stupid saying that. If I get a chain of 3 Puyo clears in a, like, one clears, that causes another, and that causes another, then a bunch of gray Puyos fall on everybody else, and Puyo Puyo is all, God, that sounds so stupid saying it. It's all color-based, so that fucks everybody else up. So it was a really fun time, but what I really loved was Video Ball. Have you ever heard of Video Ball?
No, but it sounds like a fake sport like basketball or something.
It is the simplest game in the world. All of these were on PS4, by the way. The simplest game in the world. And everyone is a triangle on the screen.
Okay.
That's it. 4 players, you're triangles. And there are circles that appear on the screen, up to 3 at a time, that are balls. And you shoot the balls.
Wait, the circles are balls?
Yes.
That's hard. I can't picture that.
You have goals on either side of the screen. So you have your goal and then the opponent's goal. The whole thing is just get the ball into the opponent's goal. But you're a triangle.
Wait, run those rules by me one more time.
I can't
that's
do
too
that.
complicated.
It's too complicated. I can't.
All right, I'll try to follow along.
So you're shooting the balls with your stupid little triangle, and you can like charge it up and shoot it to shoot further. But the controls are not like when I push down, it's like Mario running on ice, where he kind of slips and slides a little bit. It's not the most precise control, which makes it fun and stupid and interesting. But the whole time, I think what made it most fun was that, like arcade style, everyone had to name their character, and it had 3 spots for a name. So the names that we were playing with, you just see a bunch of triangles all over the screen that are named Ass, Fuck, and Poo, and then Dan. So you just see like Fuck is shooting at Poo, and Dan is blocking Poo from getting the ball into the goal. I think that might have been part of what made it so fun, is just screaming those obscenities at each other. But damn, that game was just like, for as simple and stupid as it was, that gave us a good 45 minutes of entertainment right there, of just 6 people trading off being Ass and Dan. So I think I'm going to buy that game.
Are you going to buy the next game, though? Because I like the next game. It's really a collection of games.
Yeah, this is the first time I ever played Jackbox Party Pack.
It's fun.
And yeah, it's fun. We played a few different mini games in that one, like the murder mystery one, or the trivia one where you get murdered if you get it wrong.
I haven't played the one. I don't know, because there's multiple box packs for Jackbox Party Pack. But I played one, I think it was in the second pack, where it's a trivia game, and it gives you a question, and then you have to write out an answer to trick other people in selecting that one.
Yeah.
But then one of them is the correct answer.
Yeah.
And that one was always pretty fun.
So what I like about it is how accessible it is. Like, all of these games, really. My roommate's not a huge gamer. She'll occasionally like play Street Fighter with me on this SNES Classic or Mortal Kombat or something. But like any of these
pretty
games,
intense
I feel like
for someone who doesn't game very often. Like,
I know.
I don't play games awful lot, but I play brutal fighting games when I do.
But any of these games, I feel like I could just put a controller in her hand and she would feel comfortable playing it. We could have a good time.
Well, they're more like, virtual or video game-based board games is kind of what they're like.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had a great time at that game night. Super fun. They liked me, so I'm invited back next month.
They liked you? Oh my gosh,
they did. I impressed them.
I'm so happy for you.
Also, the last game that I played, which is my new fucking obsession, is Sprint Vector. Have you heard of this one?
I haven't, but I noticed that in your list of games here, it's the only one in all caps and many exclamation points.
Yes! This is the game we saw PlayStation reveal at Paris Games Week, I think. It's a VR game. And it's the colorful running one. It's the sprinting game. And
you have to run?
You said...
physically move?
You said, man, that sounds like it's going to be motion sick inducing as fuck.
And I take it it's not, because you're really excited about it.
It's not. Here's why. The entire thing is around a mechanic where you have the move controllers in your hand, and you're moving yourself forward by grabbing in front of you and flinging your arm backwards. So it's like you're almost like pulling on a rope with each hand, or you're like ski poles almost. So that's how you're advancing forward. instead of using a joystick, which obviously our body is like, a joystick doesn't control me, but if I'm doing this like with ski poles, that feels natural to me, and my mind kind of adapts to it, and it's like, oh, I'm moving forward right now. So I not once ever, like, I don't think anyone could get sick playing this game, but it's so fucking fun. It's a racing thing. So there's 8 characters you're racing, like Mario Kart. You have little Iron Man cannons on your hand too, so you can like shoot lasers at people as they're running. As you're running on the track, you have to also shoot obstacles. And then you're jumping with the move button, and you like push down to jump up, and you like fling your things. Anyway, it's so fucking fun, and it's a hell of a workout too. I've legitimately entered this into my workout routine because the whole time I have like my heart rate's above like 140 nonstop through this whole thing. I'm drenched.
That's intense for a video game.
I know. I'm drenched in sweat by the end of it. So I'm
never using your VR headset again.
I know, it's so gross. But there's also an online component to it too. So I was racing. I started to do pretty well with single player in the VR mode, and I'm like racing the computer. And it's not like just like racing on a track. You're going through obstacles, different squares and things like that, moving on the track. There's fire. You have to make jumps and run along. Anyway, shut up. Just get to the point. I played online for the first time with a couple of people, and came in dead last every single time. It is a game that is so easy to get the hold of, and you're like, man, cool, I understand this mechanic.
But to master it?
Oh, but it is so tough to master. But it's fucking... And there's power-ups you can get to. Like, you can set mines that slow people down. You can set homing missiles. You can have a boost that makes you run as fast as you want. It's so fucking cool. So I've played it, like, of the 5 nights I've had it, I've played it 3 of those nights as part of my workout routine.
Damn,
it's so
boy.
Fucking fun. That's my new favorite VR game.
Really?
It's up there, like, of my top VR games... I think that and Superhot are tied for first.
Superhot's great.
Superhot's so great.
Well, we are talking about another virtual reality game in a little bit here.
Oh, man, sorry. I just got all worked up. That's all I played this week, Holden.
That's all you played? Holden, all those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games.
Tell me a little bit about Playtime with Holden this week.
Oh, I don't have nearly as much as you. Because I was at Power for 4 days. I didn't have any video games.
Yeah, you didn't have
play.
Friends with game night parties.
So I played finally the Mario Odyssey Balloon Find.
Oh, hide and seek.
And I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
But Holden, it was on Switch. So it's so annoying because, all right, here's what it is. You sounded so sad.
I was really upset.
I didn't like it.
So it is, there's 2 modes. One is you hide a balloon somewhere in one of the worlds, and the other is you try to find other people's balloons. And some of them are really easy to find, because people are just like, I'm going to walk around the corner of this building and hide the balloon right there, and no one will ever find it. And then you find it immediately because it's just around the corner of a building. Yeah. But then there's some where it's like they found some way to like jump really far, and then they dropped it mid-jump, so you have to like jump the exact way that they did to get it, like, or maybe just understanding what they did properly. But then you have all these people, and we did a story about this last week, and now I've experienced the story for myself, and it's really fucking annoying, where people glitch the game and go inside walls and put the balloons in there. Aww. But here's the thing: is a lot of people know how to do it. So you're like, oh, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to pay. You have to pay a certain amount of coins to find the balloon. And then you get rewarded many coins when you do find it. So you're like, oh, this one's only 50 coins. And I get 250 coins if I win it. And I go find it, and then there it is stuck in a wall. I'm like, well, fuck. Now I can't do this one, so I have to quit it. And I'm like, well, I'll try this one instead. And I noticed that the arrow is pointing in the same exact direction as the other trap balloon was. Like, no, it could be the same thing. And you go after it. No, it's the same thing. Someone else hit the balloon in a trap location. And it's just not fun. It's just not fun. Aww. It's a cool concept, but I don't enjoy it. I really don't.
Yeah, I think it would work. I like the idea that it's like extra stuff to do once you found all the moons, and you're like, I just need to challenge somebody else. It's like user-generated moons almost.
Yeah.
Like abbreviated. But that That sounds poopy. I'm sorry.
It's pretty poopy. It's okay. I'll be fine.
The
But I
fuck
did
else
have a
did you
good
play?
experience with the next game.
What is it? Go. Tell me.
So this is a game I played for a long time. It's not a new game, but I played my very first elusive contract on Hitman. And
The first time you did the elusive contract?
I just strike that. My first time I've done one. I completed one.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Because they're kind of hard. You have one chance to do it. If you die, that's it. And this one was a little bit harder. It was you have to kill this guy, and then you have to find this like porcelain white egg in a safe somewhere in the house.
Kind of like game night.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought about. And the guy is just walking around in the most crowded areas of the building. And I'm like, there's no opportunity for me to get this guy. There's just no way. But I noticed that sometimes he would go off to this little courtyard area, and there's a slight moment where his bodyguard who's falling behind him is out of eyeshot. So I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have a remote explosive. I'm going to put it against the wall, and then I'm going to walk away. And when he gets close to it, I'm just going to go ahead and detonate it. Well, I'm going to set it up. He turns the corner and goes, oh, this guy has a weapon. And he starts to freak out. I'm like, well, damn it, crap, I'm caught. So I just shot him really quickly. And then the bodyguard starts shooting at me. So I shoot the bodyguard. Combat in this game is really tricky.
Yeah.
You can die really fast. So I'm on edge now because I still have to find that fucking egg. And I don't know where it is. So I have to go in every single room. So I have to hide. I take out a bodyguard and put in his outfit. So I'm blending in with a different disguise now. Mm-hmm. And I'm just walking around the building trying to find it. I finally find the porcelain egg, and I accidentally, I can't remember what I did, but I set off something, and all these guards are coming after me. I'm on the top floor of the building, and there's just guards coming all of the staircases to come and get me, and I have to get out. And that's usually the sign of, you're screwed, you're fucked, you're not going to make it, there's no way. But I did it. I had this total awesome guns a-blazing escape from the mansion, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. So much fun. That's a great game. That's probably one of my favorites on the PS4. Really fantastic game. But then after that,
who was the target? Was it Gary Busey?
No, I didn't do that one. I didn't do that one. There was another actor who was a target in there too. I can't remember who it was.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Maybe. Who knows? I have no idea. But Gary Busey definitely for sure.
The crocodile from Lake Placid.
The crocodile from Annihilation. That's what it was.
Spoiler. God, that movie was so fucking good.
Yeah, it was really good. Then I played a demo for a game.
Ooh, what demo?
I played the Kirby demo, and this is a game that...
Which Kirby?
Right.
So there are 100,000 Kirbys. Okay, Star Allies.
Star Allies for the Switch. And
download that right now.
It's fantastic. I was a little uncertain. I'm like, I don't really have a lot of experience with Kirby games. I'm not that excited about it. And then I played it, and I'm like, this is just joyful. It is not a challenging game, but my God, is it a fun game to play.
Is this your first Kirby game?
This is my first Kirby game.
It's like baby's first platformer.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe. But it's fun because you can... In Kirby, I've known in Kirby games you can inhale your opponents.
Right.
To become them, essentially.
Or take on
But in
their,
this, you
their
can
weapon.
also... What was that?
Or take on their weapon or ability or something.
Well, that's what I mean, yeah. It's not like possessing.
It's not capturing.
It's not capturing.
Get it?
It's not possession, it's capturing. You can also befriend them as well. So you have a team of 4 people, or 4 enemies that are now your friends. And you can use your power in combination with one of their powers. So I had the yo-yo. I had the yo-yo power. Mm-hmm. And one of my guys was ice. And so I was able to combine, and then I had an icy yo-yo. I was able to freeze opponents with my yo-yo. And it was kind of, I started to realize, there's fun things I can do to kind of combine these things together. But also, depending on what powers you decided to access, you might be able to get to secret locations and secret kind of coins and things like that. They're like crystals you would collect. And I'm like, this is a game I want to play. This is really enjoyable and really fun. You get to do a boss battle against the Wispy Tree, whatever his name is, which I know is it's like Goma in Zelda.
Yeah.
It's usually the first boss of those games. And that was a fun boss battle. It was not a hard boss battle, but it was just fun. I don't know why. It felt really good. It's really gorgeous. It looks fantastic. They have this really good depth of field effect as it kind of goes off in the distance with the backgrounds.
Yeah.
Really good. It just looks fantastic. And I've only been played it on the Switch screen. I've not put it on a TV yet. So I bet it looks even better and runs even better on a TV.
About how long is the demo?
Not long. It's 2 levels. They are... like an easy and a hard, basically.
Gotcha.
and hard wasn't that much harder.
So, like, if I set you off talking about a topic, can I, like, play it while you're recording your half of the podcast?
No.
I'm joking!
Can't do that.
I wouldn't do that.
Yes, you would. You'd be like, screw you, Holden. I'm doing this now. And you do that, and then I'd do my thing. And I'd be
I just downloaded that to my Switch.
You should.
And hopefully I'll have that for next week to talk about as well. Maybe my impressions of it, and maybe how you might be wrong or right.
I'm always right, so.
But that game's not coming for a while, right? April, 16th,
May, so 10 days.
June, July, August, September.
No, it's 10 days.
10 days. That game's coming in 10 days. But there were a lot of games that came out last month in February.
Yes.
Holden, I believe you've gathered some information on review scores and impressions, and let's take a look at those in a segment we call the Leaderboard.
Leaderboard. So let me actually load up some really quickly here. So I did 3 games this month. We're going to talk about Metal Gear Survive. Payday 2 on Switch. What was that?
Did you ever watch Reno 911?
No.
No? Oh my god.
Never.
So there's this cop on there named Trudy Weigel, and she dates this person who turns out to be a serial killer. But he has these child molester glasses, and he talks like this. I grind my own meat. Anyway, the character he was on that show is actually a character that he had on like an old ass YouTube video, like series of where he's just a character in the series. This is way off topic, but he has this one where it's like he's this guy and he's helpless. What?
Are you calling me challenged?
No.
Yes,
but he's out in the snow and he's like, "Here are my tips, Craig's tips for survival in the wintertime. 3 words: survive the winter." It's like just his face. I'll send you a video link and we'll look at it after the podcast. Sorry, back to Leaderboard. Metal Gear Survive.
So we're going to do Metal Gear Survive, Payday 2 for Switch, and then we're going to talk about Moss, a new VR game that sounds very intriguing. So let's start let's start with Metal Gear Survive. Overall on Metacritic, it has a 61. Its user
61.
score is a 1.4.
Yeah, that's probably bullshit. That's
I think it's bullshit
tanking
too.
it for the sake of tanking it.
Yeah, so it got, out of the reviews, it got 14 positive reviews, 38 mixed reviews, and 5 negative reviews. I think it's a pretty fair way of looking at it. It's pretty mixed. There's definitely, it sounds like there are good things about this game, but there's just so much kind of bullshit surrounding it at the same time.
Right.
So the big highlights that I've been kind of seeing talking about this game is that the gameplay loop is actually pretty addictive, of going out, scavenging different items, and then kind of building up your base to make it better and better. And you kind of set these short-term goals for yourself. It's very much a scavenging game, like a Minecraft kind of get resources, build something up, build your base, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But one thing that surprised me that was being talked about very highly, and actually knowing who made the game, this actually doesn't surprise me, is that the creature design is really, really strong in this. And it's because it was made by, where is it, Masahiro Ito, who made the first 3 Silent Hills games, did the creature designs for this game. And if you actually watch some videos of it, the zombies themselves do look very, very cool. And overall, graphically, it looks awesome. It's a really good-looking game. Exactly, it's the Fox engine. It's the stuff that Kojima helped out with when he was, there and making good games. But when you get to the kind of the meat of the game, like the story is very lazy. Like the term lazy was used in many of these reviews.
Really?
Where basically the plot is a giant wormhole sucks you in to the zombie world, and then the rest of the story is just explaining what the wormhole was. And it's not interesting. Like it's not a very conclusive, like, oh wow, what a major revelation.
Gotcha.
It was just stupid. And that's not really an interesting story when you compare that to the political intrigue and espionage of the Metal Gear Solid franchise, which had much stronger stories and better characters. Some of the mechanics in the game, there's a nourishment mechanic where you have to make sure you are well fed. And you've been drinking water, and every review has basically said it was the most obnoxious, aggravating system to deal with, and mostly because all the stuff is laid out to you in opening tutorials that are just so long and long-winded. Like it's just several hours of tutorials in the beginning of the game, so it just really beats you across the head with bullshit in the beginning of the game that you really don't want to have to deal with. But when you get into the game after that, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
There are flat, forgettable characters, and it lacks the humor and personality of Metal Gear Solid, which doesn't surprise me because I think that personality came from Kojima.
Sure.
So
that weird
that's all
brilliant motherfucker.
So that stuff's not very strong. The biggest criticism against the game is the paying for game slots, which
oh my god,
we've already talked about that. It's absurd. But overall, it feels like if you're spending $40 in this game, you don't buy the extra game slot, you just use the one game slot. It's not a bad game.
Yeah.
It's just being shit on because it's the Metal Gear franchise, which is very close to people's hearts, and it's clear that Konami made this to make money.
Yeah.
So the question I want to pose is, people say that Breath of the Wild was very positively reviewed because it was Zelda. Is this getting a poor reception just because it's Metal Gear? And if it wasn't Metal Gear, this might have been received more positively.
Yeah, sounds like it's not necessarily... yes, absolutely, that's part of it. Mm-hmm. But also, yeah, it sounds like there are just some boring, broken, uninteresting things in the game, aside from the gameplay loop, which is like crack cocaine.
Mm-hmm. Crack cocaine. So speaking of broken and not fun, Payday 2 came out on Switch.
Payday 2. Remember, y'all, Portuguese for I farted. Payday.
So we had talked earlier about Payday and how, I think we talked about this, how basically
it's getting an older, unsupported version of it.
Not just that, but the developers don't actually update their console games. Like, they kind of release it, leave it as it is, and then they don't do bug fixes. They don't do anything to really fix the game itself after it's been released. And for an online game, that's kind of frustrating. And of course, it's tough to come across in reviews, but kind of hearing that, I was a little bit concerned to begin with. But it fared better than Metal Gear. It got a 62 on Metacritic, 6.8 for user score. And it got 5 positive reviews, 22 mixed reviews, and 3 negative reviews. And the strongest thing people are saying about this game is that it has a great variety in its mission structure. You have different levels of complexity in terms of the heist that you're doing, and who you bring on your team kind of dictates, am I going to go for a stealthy route? Am I going to go for a guns a-blazing route? Will I never get the police involved at all, and I just kind of get away with it, and it all goes out smoothly? But the problem is that it really requires the multiplayer, and that requires the voice chat, which is really limits what you can do with that game.
Right.
So you can kind of do things like, hey, like I can see that my friend is in trouble, so I can go help him out. But it's not the same thing as talking to your friends in that way. So there's a lot of content, but without the voice chat, it's not really worth playing all that content. It's kind of the gist of what I've heard. But when you do play single player, you can do that if you want to. You can have AI companions, and apparently it's just atrociously bad AI, to the point where, let's say you get into a firefight, it'll take 30 seconds before your AI companions realize, oh, I need to fight back.
Aww.
Just really pathetically bad AI, which is unfortunate.
Switch.
I think it's a really clever idea for a game. You just build up heists. Like there's missions in Grand Theft Auto 5, which is just building up a heist and executing the heist, and that's all this game is. So I really wanted it to be good, but it does play well in the terms that it's 30 frames per second. The new stuff they do add. There are some new never before seen heists that are in the game. So it's kind of a plus there. There's a new character, Joy, which apparently does actually add quite a bit in terms of using hacking abilities to like trigger security alarms.
And Joy has an
cameras.
LED mask that matches the colors of the Joy-Cons. So.
Joy and Joy-Cons? What?
Oh!
What?
I actually didn't put that together until you said that right
now. But like all these Switch games, it looks worse than it does on PC. But
of course.
Not really
it has to.
surprising.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's not a terrible game, but it just sounds like it's not really worth your money. There are better games you can get.
So this is definitely, if you're looking to play this game, specifically because of this developer, go that Fezd IRL route.
Yeah, get it on PC. He was right. PCs are better because Payday 2 is better on PC.
I Farted 2, the sequel on PC. Holden.
But then we had
Tell me about one more charming, amazing game.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a really, really good game. And I want a VR to play this game. It's called Moss. And it's a 3 to 4 hour platforming adventure game.
In VR.
In VR. You basically control this mouse named Quill. And not only do you control the mouse, but you also control the environment around Quill. So you might be like turning objects to make it easier for Quill to jump on top of them. And it's what seems cool about this game is that a lot of VR games tend to focus on you're in this space and it's kind of, it feels like it's this big space you're in.
Yeah.
Or it's like life size in some way, where this is, you're in a mouse sized world. So you're kind of this big person looking down in this mouse sized world and kind of angling around to kind of get a good vantage on it. I think it was Ryan McCaffrey. So Ryan McCaffrey, I can't remember who reviewed it at IGN, but he was basically saying that yes, this game could play well in 2D on a normal screen, but being able just to kind of get your face right up to Quill and he reacts to you is a really unique, very, very cool experience. And it's, although it's short, like the puzzles in the game kind of immerse you heavily. Some of them are very simple, so they get more complex. I want to play this game. It looks really good. If you watch videos, the animations are so charming of just seeing Quill move around. He has a lot of personality when he's moving around. The only issues are pretty limited, honestly. That is, he had to reset the calibration a few times for the VR. Sometimes some reviewers were saying that things were slightly out of their field of view, and they were kind of uncertain if they were objects that seemed like you could interact with them, but they're just out of the field of view, so you weren't quite sure.
Gotcha.
What your interaction was supposed to be with them. But that's pretty minimal. The story didn't have a great ending, apparently, kind of just leaving it wide open for a sequel. But a game with good gameplay, you want there to be a sequel anyway.
Yep.
So this seems like a game that if you have VR, most were saying this is the new game they show off.
I can't wait. I got Sprint Vector before Moss came out. I was like, I'm looking for a new VR game. And I had like the weekend free, and I was like, I'm going to play something, and I got Sprint Vector. But then Moss came out, and I'm like, oh, God, you know what? I want Moss too. So now, you know that $100, spend $100 on PlayStation Network, get $15 credit. That's going to come around. I've already pre-ordered God of War and Detroit Become Human. So when I get that money, I'm going to buy Moss, and we'll go a little bit more in depth with my experience on it in the middle of the month. Once we get that,
I'm jealous. Watching this, I want to play this game. It looks like a lot of fun.
Dude, last week was the time to buy a VR and do it. So you should just go back in time.
No, thanks. I'm buying a computer. I can't just be buying VR headsets.
What did you say the Metacritic score was on that one?
Let me pull it back up again. It was 84.
84.
And it got 37 positive, 2 mixed, and no negative reviews.
No negative reviews.
Boom.
Boom Shaka Khan. Well, Holden, thanks for taking us on a rundown of some of the games that came out last month.
Oh, anytime, Chad. Anytime at the beginning of every month.
At the beginning of every month. Oh, my.
Oh, my goodness.
I had a separate thought. Maybe this is something we talk about off the podcast, or maybe it's something I'd talk to you right now about. I had a thought of maybe doing another leaderboard. Another leaderboard throughout the month, maybe about like when NPD numbers come out and sales and things like that. Like what sold the most this month.
Oh, that would be good, yeah. I would do that, yeah. I can look into that.
If anything's... Yeah, so do more work.
I need to do more work, Chad.
Oh, before we open up our quest log this week, I want to make one more reminder to you guys about photo mode. You still have until Sunday night, the March 11th at midnight, to submit your entry for our first monthly round of photo mode. Check our Twitter. I'm going to make it our pinned tweet. Check our Twitter. I'm going to do that right now as I talk because I'm great at multitasking. Check our pinned tweet on Twitter for the rules of how you do it. It's really simple. Just take a picture of yourself. Shout out to Jerson, who I didn't realize this until he posted his entry that said, oh, I had to take a picture of this with my laptop because I had to have my phone. I was like, oh, I didn't think about that people have to have 2 devices.
God, you don't think about anything,
Don't
Chad.
worry. Next month is going to be very fun and like Photoshop-ish focused with green screen pictures. But anyway, all I can say right now is if you enter your picture before Sunday right now, there is a very, very good chance that you're going to win $10. There's not a lot of competition out there right now. So take that into account. And I just looked at Twitter. I didn't actually do anything while I'm multitasking. But I can speak at the same time while I do it, as long as I'm not speaking about anything that I need to actually make sense about. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll through my news feed and
you've been
tap on
mumbling this whole time. I don't know anything you just said.
And I pinned it. It is now the pinned tweet on our profile. Also, every I think Sunday or Monday, I posted it yesterday or today. Every Monday, we're gonna do a stupid little thing, a stupid poll on Twitter, and I want to know who the fuck else voted for Game Potato. The poll that we put out: what's the best potato? Your choices were Idaho Gold Potato, any other potato, or Game Potato. 2 people voted for Game Potato, and I voted for any other potato. Did you hire somebody to vote for Game Potato?
I didn't even vote myself. I'm a
You didn't
terrible
vote?
person.
Oh, so we
No,
had
I
2
didn't
people vote for Game Potato. Okay.
That weren't me. Wow.
I was sitting in the
Now
Flex
we
office
should change
today.
the name to Game Potato. The name of the podcast is now Game Potato.
I was sitting in the Flex office today, and Gus was there, and I said, Gus, give me a really stupid poll. And he said, what's the best potato? And I said...
when he was on the podcast, didn't we talk about potatoes?
That's why the very first option is Idaho Gold Potato, because that's the one he brought up. Oh, man. So, Holden, now's the time when we open our quest log, and we take a look at what the internet has assigned to us this week. And I'm going to talk about the first one, because I've decided that. So, hi. Our very first quest comes from comicbook.com. Report, PlayStation 5 may have backward compatibility with PlayStation 4 games. I'm not going to read a whole lot of this. Basically, it comes from a patent that actually was filed back in 2015 by Sony, with Mark Cerny as like the head person on the patent. The quote from the patent...
Cerny.
Yeah, Mark Cerny, lead architect on the PlayStation 4.
He's important.
Knack, responsible for Knack, whose
Great
servers are going down.
classic game.
Anyway, the patent states the backward compatibility testing of software in a mode that disrupts timing. And then comicbook.com goes on to say, we're not sure about the disrupt timing part of it, but backward compatibility is as clear as day.
Does it mean you can, like, do a, what do they call them in 3D Virtual Console, save points?
Save states, I doubt it.
Or, like,
if
the
you look
rewind
further
feature of
into
SNES?
No, if you look further into it's like messing with the time developer part of the tools, and it's something else entirely that I don't understand. But I thought that was there are some people like saying, "Oh, they started in 2015. This means backwards compatibility is coming to PS4." And I think comicbook.com and a lot of other places have kind of said this too. I think they're right in saying this is probably a PS5 feature that they're looking into ahead of time to make sure that when you make that upgrade, your PS4 library comes with you instantly as well. And I don't think it's something we'll see backwards compatibility for PS4 this generation, because we're already so late in that generation.
Yeah, I also think that, to me, this is a no-brainer. I mean, what's the likelihood that the PS5 is not going to use the x86 architecture?
Right.
It's going to have the same architecture, which basically means it should just work. You shouldn't have to do anything in the coding to really support the PS4. It should just work.
Right. And they have to. I mean, Microsoft is already with Xbox backwards compatibility and game preservation. Like, that's important. So they have to. They can't launch PlayStation 5 and not address that issue somehow.
Yeah.
Holden, read me another quest.
So this is one I'm excited about. So Marcus Sellers is kind of one of those industry insiders, and he tweeted today, there's going to be a Direct on Thursday. A Nintendo Direct.
A what?
March 8th.
Oh, let's all get hype. Let's all get hype, and then all get disappointed together.
It might not happen. We were all very uncertain about the January 11th. Are they going to do it? We don't know. And then it just arrived.
That's right.
So maybe they're going to do that again this time around. I think it makes sense. Even after the January 11th, I said either the next Direct's going to happen pretty quickly or it's going to happen in March. So there's a lot that they have to talk about. They have to talk about Super Mario Tennis Aces, whatever it's called. They have to talk about Hyrule Warriors, and that's
Super
coming
Mario
out.
Tennis. God, I always forget every minute that game is coming out.
And then you get super
and then 60
excited.
seconds from now, I'll forget it again. But then I get so excited.
I'll remind you. In 60 seconds, I'll remind you.
Thank you.
So I'm not surprised to see that we're going to have another Direct. I wouldn't be surprised if they talked a little bit more about Nintendo Labo, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Nintendo
Some more stuff that's going to
Labia.
be happening around that. I would say it is possible they talk about online. So I don't think they want to wait until E3 to talk about that.
I don't know, because it's far enough away that I think.
Well, there was already a story we did a few weeks ago where they mentioned that they wanted to talk about the online service sooner rather than later, and it would be like in their next kind of Direct would focus on.
Okay, we talk about so many things like crocodiles.
I recall that's
Lake
what happened.
And
So I'm excited about that. It might not happen. But if it does happen, I expect us to talk about that next week.
Yeah. Hey, Holden. What are the next 3 quests here? They're ones you added, and I figured you read the article, and I didn't.
I didn't read any of these articles. I don't read. I don't know how to read.
Good.
I just read headlines.
First, you learn English, and then you read the English on the article page.
So speaking of directs, Xbox is going to take a little bit of cue from Nintendo.
Yeah.
And they're going to have an Inside Xbox event, which is premiering March 10th. So basically, it's going to be a monthly deal where they just talk about Xbox. It's a little show centered around Xbox. No idea what they're going to talk about. I don't know if they have anything to talk about. What games are they going to talk about besides Crackdown?
They apparently already talk once a month with like Major Nelson about some stuff, like headline. We're releasing this new game, blah blah blah, or this is what's going on in the Xbox ecosystem. I don't know if this will replace that, or I think they mentioned too. I'm trying to open this up, but it's not working. Anyway, I think they mentioned inside there too that they might have like new game announcements or things like that. So it might be very similar to a Nintendo Direct, which could be pretty cool. And the first one's next week.
Down with Rare to discuss Sea of Thieves this time around. So he's going to be talking about kind of current games, the games we've already know about, maybe just kind of more in depth about them. I think this is smart. I think this is a strategy that even Sony should adopt. Yeah, it's just kind of these. You can't have everything at a trade show.
Yeah, you got to talk directly to your audience. Also, side note. That Sea of Thieves Xbox controller is gorgeous as fuck.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
It's the purple one with like the teal skull on it, and look it up. It looks sexy as fuck. And while you look that picture up, I'm going to transition into a quest that I'm going to read now from IGN. Why is this on here? Why did we leave this on here? Sony's restructuring to focus more on first-party games? No, that's non-news. Of course it's focusing on first-party games. Shut up. Here we go. Another one from IGN. Nintendo Switch playtimes are being reset after 1 year. Now, this is something that's kind of unfolded throughout the week. Basically, it's what seems like a bug based on Nintendo's reaction that a year after you get your Switch, or after you start playing a game, it will reset and say 0 days played.
I haven't checked my Switch. I'm going to check that right now.
I haven't checked it either. So, like, your Legend of Zelda will wrap around once that 365-day mark hits. It'll now say, you played 0 days, or you played it for the first time today.
The bug did not hit me.
It is apparently a bug.
Oh, no, it did. Zelda first played 3 days ago.
Yep.
But then ARMS is 35 hours. Splatoon, 70 hours.
Right, it'll be a year from when you started playing those games.
Oh,
But it's okay.
Annoying.
Nintendo knows about it. A fix is coming in an update.
Well, no, they have said that as well as that the data is there.
Yeah.
It's not like the data's lost. It's just being displayed incorrectly.
Right.
So, I wonder if in the code it literally is just written as time played since March 3rd. It doesn't include the year in there.
Yeah.
So once it reaches March 2nd, it goes, oh, you've been playing this, or March 4th, you've been playing this for 1 day.
Yeah,
it doesn't,
that's probably it.
I bet they just don't include the year. I don't know. That'd be poor coding, but it's probably something like that.
Yeah. Holden, tell me about this Bethesda E3 shit.
Bethesda E3 shit. So Bethesda just announced they're going to have an E3 event on June 10th. So they've officially put the date on there. Kind of just a small little announcement, but I think this is going to be a very big year for Bethesda at E3.
Man, it's because they blew all of their wads last year, and they came out by the end of the year.
Well, they didn't really have that big of a show last year. They didn't really announce anything hugely new, I don't think.
But everything
had already been announced.
Everything they announced or everything that they showed off is out now. So it's like, everything that if they have anything at this show, which of course they're not going to have a show without it, it's all going to be brand new stuff because everything else is out.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is one of my predictions for the year when we did our predictions in January is that Bethesda's going to announce one of their two big, Skyrim, Fallout-sized games.
Right.
And I think that now is the time. They've said they've been working on those games, or they first mentioned they had been working on those games in 2015. So presumably they already had a few years of working on that game to feel comfortable saying it's our biggest game that we've ever made.
Most ambitious game to date.
We're taking this game to the next level.
Level 2.
I hate when developers
World 1-2
conferences like that. Anyway, so I think they're going to announce a really big game like that. It's not going to be Skyrim. It's not going to be Fallout, but it will be a new IP. Basically, is what is being suggested. But the confirmed thing is that we'll be hearing something from Bethesda June 10th.
I got to remember to request off E3 weekend.
Yeah,
Remind
you
me in
should.
2 hours to request off E3.
Are you talking to Siri?
Yeah, I'm talking to Siri. Who the fuck do you think I'm talking
See
to?
your friend. Chad, I want to hear about what PlayStation Plus is going
Oh,
in March.
Holden. Oh, what a month. I am so sexually satisfied by this month's PlayStation Plus lineup.
Even though I am the same way, I already own both of these games, but I'm still excited for people who don't.
This is probably the best, I don't know, one of the best
No,
months
it's the best.
for
It's the
PlayStation Plus.
best.
On PlayStation 4, if you are a PlayStation Plus subscriber in the month of March, you get Bloodborne as well as the remaster of Ratchet & Clank.
Yeah.
I personally don't have Ratchet & Clank yet, so I'm very excited. And that actually goes live today, so you can download that.
Yes.
Bloodborne, fucking fantastic. And you know what I
Bloodborne's
love about Bloodborne?
What's that?
The community around Bloodborne is launching a Return to Yharnam, hashtag Return to Yharnam, and a bunch of people, to make sure that other people who are picking it up now for the first time have a good experience, people who are veterans of the game are returning to it to help them through all this shit. So it's a really cool little community thing.
That's fun. Bloodborne, I think, is the best game on PS4, in my opinion.
Oh, I would have to think a lot more. Ooh, yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn, duh. But I would have to think a lot more where that is. It's definitely probably in my top 5. Definitely probably in my top 5. That's words. Science.
That's certainty right there. But also, Ratchet and Clank is such a blast. That game is so much fun. It's absolutely gorgeous. It looks like you're playing a Pixar movie. It's just that good looking.
Remember me.
Oh,
Get
don't,
it?
I'm
Coco,
gonna cry.
Pixar movie.
I'm gonna cry. Don't do
I just got that 4K Blu-ray the other day. I can't wait to watch it on my OLED screen.
That's one of the best Pixar movies in a long time.
2 other things about this. The remainder of the games, PlayStation 3, you get Legend of K, as well as Mighty Number 9, which is cross-buy with PS4, so now you have that on PS4 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not super excited about that. I was never going to buy it, but now I might actually try it to see how shitty it was. And then on PlayStation Vita, both of these games are also cross-buy with PS4, so you're technically getting 5 PS4 games on this month. Claire, extended cut, whatever the fuck that is, and Bombing Busters. Don't know what that is either.
Bombing Buster's awesome.
It's Dave and Buster's in Fallout times.
But it's not.
Now here's the other thing, and this is a really good move by Sony. Sony, with this announcement, also announced that PS3 and Vita will no longer have PlayStation Plus games in the lineup starting March 8th, 2019. So they announced this a year ahead of time. So that, yep, for the next 12 months, you're still going to get free PS3 games every month. You're still going to get Vita games every month. And after that date in 2019, any that you already have will continue to work as long as you're a member. So you don't have to worry about that. But they're just going to stop giving away free ones, I assume, because they depleted the Vita's library and everything's been free now.
And because a PS5's coming out and they needed to make room for that.
Kind of, yeah. They also announced...
it is that. It is
you're
that,
right.
Chad. I am right.
They also announced that Sony told Polygon that once the changes take place, the PS Plus lineup will be comprised of only 2 free PS4 games. So they're not replacing those with... Well, now we'll get 6 PS4 games. It's just going to be the 2 PS4. But I thought that was a good move.
They're not at least adding one more PS4 game.
I mean, who knows? They have a year. Things could change. They might also add VR games. I mean, they kind of have those trials for like 3 months now with VR. But I thought it was a good move, and I thought a year, notifying people a year ahead of time. I got the email from Sony saying, hey, by the way, this is going to happen. It's not just a press release. They actually emailed everyone who has that. But a year is the longest membership they sell for PlayStation Plus. So that will kind of defer anyone who buys this membership for a year thinking, oh man, if they buy it in April, they're thinking, oh man, I'm going to get a whole year's worth of PS3 games out of this. And then
that's
come
really
next
good
April,
point.
they're like, oh, where are my games? I want a refund. So yeah, I think that was good that they kind of let everyone know that. But what a fucking good month. Bloodborne.
Oh yeah.
Yas.
Absolutely. Last big story of the week is that Nintendo has added...
Holden.
Quest of the week. That's Quest of the week.
We decided to name our kid a name, and you're going to call it by that name. Call me by your name.
I was going to do something, but I'm not going to.
Read the quest. Were you going to
So
fucking
Nintendo
apricot?
added user reviews to the Switch. Shut up. Nintendo added user reviews to the Switch and then pulled them.
Yeah, they were up for a total of, 3 days?
Yeah, so for like 3 days. They said it was a trial. They were just testing it out. I think that's accurate. I think this is a part of the Nintendo Online service that they were just putting it out there to try it out, and maybe we'll see it come back later on.
So here's a tiny mini topic. I don't want to spend too long on this. Tiny mini topic. Are user reviews even worthwhile? Does that matter?
I actually do look at user reviews on like the App Store. I'm like, oh, I want to buy this game. Is this game good? Because there's not a review out for every single video game.
Sure.
Or every single app. So it's kind of nice to see that stuff. But then you look at what happened with Metal Gear Survive, and they're showing off the user scores for that, and it's given a 1.4.
Yeah, if you notice in that leaderboard, all of the reviews, all of the scores and things like that you read were the critic scores.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly...
It depends on the community.
Yeah. On most gaming things, I don't even look, don't even notice they're there. Even on like Amazon.com, if I'm buying something, user reviews are the last thing that I look at. If I see it's a good product and some people have some comments to say on it, and then I'll like actually look up a critic or someone who in that field has knowledge, and I'll look up that review. But I don't know.
User reviews on dumb reviews like, I got the box and the box was busted. I'm like, well, it's probably because of shipping, not because the product is bad.
Right.
Like, you had a bad delivery driver. I'm sorry.
Or I got this Android screen protector and it didn't work with my iPad. Because you're a fucking idiot.
Well, I remember, like, even used to work in customer service, and I got a customer service response saying once a bad score because the parking garage was crazy. Like, I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah, user reviews can be tricky, but it depends on the community. And I think that it's worth trying out. And if it turns into a very kind of negative space where, like, Breath of the Wild's not getting perfect 10s all the time, then I think they should take it away.
Oh, man. Okay. So, Holden, now we get to the part of our quest log where we just rattle off the fetch quests. Basically things that are just headlines that we don't need to read the rest of the article. Would you like to rattle off some of these for me? Sure.
Let me look around here and see which ones I find are interesting. Data mined Super Mario Odyssey for the Luigi's Balloon World update was data mined in Super Mario Odyssey to show that there are some new moon locations and some new costumes. So maybe we'll see some more updates coming there.
Cool.
Detroit Become Human is getting a March 25th release date.
Snaps. That's also the same thing as Donkey Kong and Tropical Freeze on Switch, right?
No.
What?
That's May 4th, and Dark Souls comes out the same day.
Dark Souls. Oh, yep, I'll be playing Detroit.
I'm going to be playing Dark Souls. Nintendo has basically said that they're not going to be doing a update to the Switch like they do the 3DS line. They're not going to.
Right.
They're going to kind of add new peripherals, like new types of Joy-Cons and that kind of stuff. I'm disappointed by that news. Sad news, Twisted Metal Creators studio shut down. Not
David
good.
Jaffe, drawn to death.
Your turn, Chad, your turn.
Kind of around that same thing. David Jaffe was working on an Iron Man VR game pitch for PlayStation. No one asked him to. He and his team are just like, guys, let's make an Iron Man VR game. Show it to him. Show him how cool it'll be, and hopefully see. So,
it sounded awesome.
Yeah. We also have Universal. This is everyone trying to capitalize off of Pokemon Go's success. Universal announces Pokemon Go style Jurassic World monster catching thing.
Which makes sense.
The biggest difference between this one and Pokemon Go is that you can actually, quote unquote, send a drone out from your location to collect things for you, which means that you can lay on your bed instead of having to actually walk to capture the dinosaurs. You can lay on your bed and go around the corner on your phone.
Well, it makes sense because Pokemon's all about capturing Pokemon, just like Jurassic Park was all about capturing dinosaurs.
Apparently you're like getting DNA from them instead. Anyway.
Dinosaur DNA.
Frantics. A dino DNA. A dinosaur. Frantics is a new PlayLink party game. It launches today on PS4. PlayLink is like the kind of like Jackbox Party Pack almost. Like everyone has their own phone that they're playing with, which is cool. And this one looks like a Mario Party style game, which is pretty fun. That's out. I haven't played it. It looked fun. I looked at the trailer. Studio that ported Skyrim to Switch asks to work on Monster Hunter. So Iron Galaxy, who, they did the Switch Skyrim one. They're like, hey, by the way, Capcom, give us the rights to Monster Hunter World. We'll make it. We'll try it because Monster Hunter World said, or Capcom said, it'll be too hard to do on the Switch. They're like, oh, let us prove it to you.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Ooh, we've already talked about the Kirby demo.
Mm-hmm.
So Diablo 3 looks like is actually coming to Switch. Rumored again. They released that stupid video with Diablo light switch going on and off.
Which they said has nothing to do with the Switch. They don't understand why people are making that conclusion.
Yep, they're like, I promise we're not that clever. And then it turns out there's an insider that says, no, it's actually coming. Still no official announcement. Turok and Turok 2 are now on Xbox One. Those are a port of the PC from 100,000 years ago and apparently still run the same. Live action Far Cry 5 short film. Actually, I think this is out by now, right? I think I added this earlier in the week. And it's launching on Amazon Prime on fucking when?
I don't know.
March 5th.
While you find that
March
out.
5th. Yeah, so yesterday. If you have Amazon Prime Video, you can watch a Far Cry 5 live action short film. Oh, new Battlefield 2 apparently follows Call of Duty back to World War II and will be called Battlefield V, which is Roman numeral for 5. So we went from 4 to Hardline to 1 to 5.
That makes sense.
No surprise there.
And we get 2 more stories on our fetch quest. My favorite is the full Yakuza game was accidentally released as a demo.
Yeah. Oops.
That's great.
That got pulled from this PlayStation store.
Well, the original story was, man, the demo's 36 gigabytes. Oh, damn, the demo's the full game. That's kind of how that went. And then Xbox One updates adds 1440p resolution.
I actually did want to slightly touch on this a little bit more than official.
Oh my
so I'm
gosh,
glad we did
Chad,
this
we
one
don't have
last.
time. This is a fetch quest.
So yeah, it adds what
we named our child something specific, Chad.
The language used in this update makes it seem that all Xbox Ones get this update and the ability to do something kind of between 1080 and 4K, that 1440p. So a little bit higher resolution, which is cool. I guess the games have to support that, but maybe it's just like the interface. But another thing that I wanted to point out here is that Xbox, the Mixer app that has like integration with it's from Microsoft, adds in the ability, just like PlayStation's had since launch of PS4, the ability for other people to take control of your game. Mm-hmm. So if I'm going through a part that's too hard and you're watching me play the game, I can say, hey, Holden, remotely, you can take control of my controller. You can do it virtually by clicking buttons on the website, or you can plug into the PC, your Xbox controller to PC to do that too.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so Holden, enough of those fetch quests.
We have a main
Tell
quest
us about our main
now.
quest tonight. What are we tackling?
We're going to be talking about the future hurdles that our industry is going to have to tackle here. Basically, technological hurdles as well as business hurdles. And there's kind of some that we already know about, and I want to talk a little bit about some speculative hurdles
Okay.
as well. But I think the biggest hurdle that we're facing right now is going to be the transition from physical to digital. That's one that's been starting, and I think it is both a technical and a business-related hurdle.
Right.
To kind of go after. And the reason is that you have... The technical hurdle is we can already download games, but Australia's internet connections are way slower. So if like a PS5 came out and had no disc, would they want to buy a PS5 with no disc slot in there? Because they have to download their games. It's going to take forever. The internet is a lot slower over there. So it's mildly technical, but it's more of a business thing because people seem to be concerned that like GameStop and all that's going to go out of business if they can't sell games anymore. I'm not worried about that. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it will happen eventually.
It will happen eventually, but I think people think it's more detrimental to the industry than it really would be. Best Buy is not going to go out of business because they can't sell video games. They sell washing machines and refrigerators as well. Like, they're going to be fine. They just don't sell video games anymore. They'll still sell the Xbox and the PS4 because they're still going to make money on that, so they'll still sell that. So There's not going to be an issue of, we'll never be able to buy a console. No one will sell a console in store if they don't also sell the video games along with it. That's a ridiculous statement. That doesn't make any sense.
Well, there is that one UK chain that's threatening to stop selling the Xbox One over Games Pass integration.
But is it a games-only retailer, or is it a Best Buy? Like,
it's a games. You're right. It's a games-only retailer. So that's their livelihood. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you're right. It's going to happen eventually. We still got to get our consoles, the hardware itself, somewhere. Unless maybe we don't. Who knows? Maybe a streaming platform will be the future, and
they just build it into TVs.
Build it into TVs, or we all just learn to love Amazon.
That's also what's probably going to happen.
Yep.
You order your PS4 and a drone drops it in your yard within a half hour.
There are so many horror stories in the last year of Amazon and gaming-related things, like people who ordered an SNES Classic and they pre-ordered it,
Yep.
And then they don't get it for like months, even though they were giving them away on the fucking truck that they did.
That is such bullshit.
Yeah.
That's such bullshit.
Or like people, like somebody, what was it? People getting Switch, like they pre-order the Switch, but they get it like a week late or something like that, or they didn't get Breath of the Wild right away and they had to buy it digitally as well. So anyway, yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing, but I think when it happens, it's going to be such a boon for creators because I forget the source that I heard this from, but recently I heard physical versus digital, like the cut that people take, and I think it was like 45% of the cost of the game goes to like shipping and paying and creating the physical disc and things like that. Whereas digital, the developer actually, so 55% goes to the developer, 45 goes to everything else. Whereas if you do it digital, it's like a 70-30 cut instead. So it's going to be better for our game companies.
It's the App Store model. I mean, in the App Store,
Right.
Google Play and Apple App Store, it's a 30-70 split.
Yeah. And it also makes for easier certifications, easier downloading, easier to update a patch and things like that. But yeah, I think that's our probably closest hurdle.
Well, that's one thing. The patching, you would not have any more day one patches.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't exist anymore because the game you download is the update that released that same day.
Right.
If they had to do that, it just makes so much more sense. I think that in terms of like it being like the App Store, it wouldn't quite be like the App Store because Sony still has to vet all these games as opposed to, just put it on our store. We'll make sure it does what it says it does, and that's it. Like, it's going to be more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But it still will open up, I think, a lot of potential for indies and that kind of stuff to price their games however they want. They don't have to think about this is going to be on a shelf, and a $15 game on the shelf's not going to look as good to a $60 game. People will say, well, that's probably less of a game. It's just, in the App Store, it's not a thing. You see a game is $10 or $3, and you don't feel like you're getting less or more of a game based on the value you're putting down monetarily on it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like I know, Blizzard, when Blizzard released Overwatch on consoles, they launched it at a $60 price point because on a store shelf, a $40 game does not look appealing compared to the $60 games. But on PC, on Steam, Overwatch is a $40 game.
Yep.
They charged it more on console. So I'd be interested to see, too, of how that pricing structure changes when you don't have to think about a store and selling it in a store. A physical store, I mean.
Right.
It'll be interesting.
Interesting.
I think part of the physical or to digital transition also ties into game streaming.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge technological hurdle. Absolutely.
Yep. And that's where, like, we heard Google is starting to get into that space, experimenting with it.
This is one
now.
Yes. And is Microsoft going to release one? Have they said that?
No, they haven't mentioned anything like on that front.
They will. They have really good servers like Google does.
Actually, no.
They will.
Didn't they mention that they were going to try to do something like that, like in the next 3 years?
Oh yeah, the CEO of Microsoft did mention that. Satya Nadella.
I think that's true. We'll look into it and then probably not tell you. So,
I think that's going to be a really important hurdle for the game industry.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about generations of consoles going away, that I think will really run true when online streaming becomes a thing. You will just get Xbox. You don't need to update it every 5 years. You just have it.
Yep.
It's going to be like having an Apple TV or Roku box.
Right.
Like maybe it'll support better resolution output or something like that in the future, so you have to get that new one. But overall, it's the content you're pulling down, and you're buying it on your Apple TV or your Roku. That's how they make their money. They don't really make money on the boxes themselves. And then also the boxes are a lot cheaper, which will open up gaming to a lot more people.
Right.
Who maybe don't want to buy a $500 Xbox One X.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, where like when we moved to that cloud-based game streaming, when we don't have to worry about like we can upgrade the servers and not have to upgrade our box, like that makes things so much easier and so much cheaper on the consumer end.
Totally.
Which allows us to kind of, then of course they'll charge with subscription models and services and things like that. But
I don't mind though. I
don't either.
Like, I prefer listening to music on a streaming service because I'm not thinking about, oh, I've heard that album is really good. I don't know if I want to buy it though. And it's like, oh, I heard that album's good. I'm gonna listen to it. Oh, I heard this movie's good. It's on Netflix. I'm just gonna watch it. It's the same thing with games. I think that games are so much more personal in the sense that a really good game might not be good for everybody, and a game that maybe is mediocre might be the perfect game for you.
Yep.
And because, like, oh, I know this didn't get the greatest scores ever, but some people said this is a good aspect, it had some good aspects to it, I want to try it out, you're going to do that. And that's going to be helping that developer out a lot.
Yeah.
The tricky thing, though, with a game streaming service is how do you pay your developers in that?
Right.
So, like, a music model works on how many listens you get. With Netflix, it's generally, okay, people are going to watch Marvel Civil War if we put it on there. So we know that if we spend random number $10 million to get Marvel Civil War on there, then it will attract more users to our group. How does it work in the sense of, oh, Sony just pays Gorilla to put a game on their streaming service, and that's how it works? Or is it the amount of hours spent playing the game?
Yeah, it's got to be something probably, you imagine, in between those two things. Like like the lump sum somebody gets paid for putting their game on PlayStation Plus for free. Something between that and way back when we first started recording, we did an episode on streaming services. And there was an indie streaming service that announced, like, we're going to be strictly for indie titles, and the way you get paid is we take the time spent playing your game, divide it up among the time spent playing everything else, and you get that percentage of the streaming profits that we made.
That's a better way of handling it. I was concerned because you look at a game like Hellblade. Great game.
Oh, I love that game.
Short game, though.
Yeah.
And that game has a budget that probably wouldn't be financially solvent, I guess would be it, if you 6 hours to play it, but it cost a lot of money to make that game. Like, you're not going to make it up with people playing 6 hours of that game and only getting charged or getting paid back for the 6 hours. Like, that could really diminish the quality of games we see get out there. Or at least you start seeing these games where it's games of service, and how do we make games that can be played over and over and over again. That could actually really hurt single-player games more so than microtransactions and how profitable those are.
Yep. Then you might also see, like, get people start padding their games to make them longer so that you play them longer, and then they get paid more. Like, yeah, that could
never
be
really makes a game fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I hadn't thought about that.
It's because I'm so smart.
You're so smart. You was kind. You was smart. You was important.
What's that from?
It's from The Help.
I haven't seen The Help.
You haven't seen The Help? Oh, it was a fantastic movie. Holden, shut up. Watch The Help.
That's with Emma Stone and Octavia Spencer. Is Octavia Spencer in that one?
Octavia Spencer, Viola Davis.
She is, okay.
Yep. Eat my shit. God, that movie was so good.
It has everything to do with online game streaming.
Yeah, I need help sometimes in games, and I go to guides or friends.
You go to The Help. So, I mean, I think that online game streaming is as inevitable as games going all digital.
Yeah.
It's absolutely going to happen. It just makes too much sense. And I think that's where we kind of get into the more speculative. Last week we talked about the future of Switch, and we mentioned that every game box is just going to be a streaming device.
Yep.
And we kind of brought that into, well, then at that point, everything's going to be hybrid. It's all going to be just a tablet you carry around with you to dock in your television, because it doesn't need to be a box because it doesn't really process that much on the box itself. So you might as well have everything be hybrid.
It runs the UI. That's basically it.
Yeah, I'd be curious how they market that, because when someone sees the Switch, they immediately go, well, that's underpowered. I want my Call of Duty game to be as beefy and as good looking as possible. And how are they going to tell people, no, this hybrid Xbox, this hybrid PS7 is more powerful than we were able to make our previous console? Even though it might not physically look like it's capable of as much, how do they convince people of that? How do they convince people that there's not going to be this crazy lag when you're playing your games online over a 5G connection? I'm just really curious what that's going to look like.
Yeah. I think they've got to, like, introduce that as, like, a concept or a feature of one of, like, an upcoming model. Mm-hmm. And then once people see, oh, that's a cool service that's as an option on my Xbox 3, then they can finally say, cool, remember that cool thing that was on the Xbox 3? Xbox 4, we're going all in. That's how you play your games now. So I think they got to like give that little taste to people to convince them that this can work.
Well, and I think in a lot of ways you saw that with PS3 and Xbox 360, where it's like, hey guys, you can buy your games right on here, and the system was a little bit more rudimentary or primitive than it is nowadays. Like now we have these robust online services on our consoles. Before it's like they bundled in Netflix, but now you can really have any video service that you want on
Except
there.
For on
like,
Switch.
Except for on Switch. I don't mind that, but so I have to mention that every time. I don't mind it's not on Switch.
I know.
So I feel like PS3 and how that kind of teased the bigger stuff we saw with PS4 and Xbox One in terms of entertainment. I think you're right. It's going to be kind of similar to that.
Yeah.
But that's tougher to do then, because then how do they say, would it be, hey, here's a box that only streams, the next one's going to be, we're going all in on that, and now it's going to be something you can carry with you. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm just curious what that transition looks like.
I don't know.
Like, when you look at the history of consoles, it's going to be box, tablet. And that's going to look really strange looking backwards.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
You know what I miss? I miss the PSP Go.
You had a PSP Go?
Oh, I had a PSP Go. Hell yeah. I think it was ahead of its time. I had all of my music on it. I had
all your music on it?
I did. Yep.
That's hilarious. You're like the ideal Sony customer. They're like, oh, look, he does it. He puts his music on his PSP.
Yep. Had all those games. I also did homebrew shit on it. Sorry, that's off topic.
Don't mention you homebrew. That's illegal.
Shut up.
Two more things that are kind of coming up. We've kind of mentioned this already, but payment models. I think that microtransactions is a hurdle that we're going to deal with for a while, and just kind of figuring out how do you really finance these games when they're getting so much bigger. I think we've talked to death about that in past episodes. So I'd say if you want to hear more about us talking about microtransactions, go find like a Battlefront 2 episode. We have lots of discussion around it based on that lovely game. The other one is VR. I think VR is very much in its infancy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is,
I think of VR.
Shuhei Yoshida says, this, like, PSVR is as if we're launching the PlayStation 1 again. Like, this is first generation. Yeah. We're experimenting.
Well, yeah, if you look at PS1 games, and even N64 games, it's like, yikes.
Yep.
3D games were garbage back then, but it was really exciting back then.
Volumetric fog.
But like, you know, at that time, it was just, hey, we got to try everything. We're changing the paradigm of gaming.
Yep.
And I would even go as far as to say is that's the least replayable generation of games.
Absolutely, yep.
I mean, SNES games and Genesis games hold up really well because they kind of perfected the 2D style game. And I think in VR we're in that same period where it is just a bunch of trial by fire and seeing what works.
People are trying out control schemes. You have everything from like Resident Evil moving around on a joystick to sprint vector where you're pulling yourself and kind of propelling yourself that way, and then you have Moss where you're controlling things with your DualShock even differently. Like
you control the mouse with the joysticks, but you're using the motion at the same time to control objects in the environment. Like, that's really complicated.
Everyone's just experimenting like crazy and seeing what actually works and what works well. And then 2 or 3 years from now, people are like, cool. Now that we've tried out all these mechanics and we can take the best of everything else, we're going to start seeing some stunning games. And then we'll see 2.0. And that's going to like make our eyes bleed.
I think it's going to be longer than 2.0. I mean, I would say 3D games didn't really hit their stride in a big way until the PS3 and Xbox 360. I think PS2 is still figuring out a lot of stuff. Like, storytelling in video games really hit its stride in PS3.
Yeah.
And it's still getting improved a lot even now. So, I mean, we'll just kind of have to see. Go back to the whole control mechanisms, though, with VR. We still don't really know how movement works in general. Like, do you like to do teleportation travel where you just kind of jump somewhere? Or do you want to be walking? Oh, that can make you kind of sick. All right, we got to figure out how we're going to do head bobs and things like that.
Do you turn in a pie chart, or do you do smooth turning? Do you... Yeah.
Getting people comfortable with it in general. Like, there's so much to do with VR. But it's hugely exciting.
Yep. And wireless. HTC Vive is already going wireless sometime maybe this year. with HTC Vive Pro, but that's kind of it's interesting to talk about VR because I do not think ever that will be the only way we consume games. I still think people are going to have a controller in their hand looking at a TV or looking at a projection or screen or something, a hologram. But I do think VR will be an established like platform. You'll have.
Well, I think it's like you look at movies. I can watch a movie on my phone or YouTube videos on my phone, or I can go to a movie theater. They don't really cancel each other out. Even like a home theater system, I know it's different.
Yeah, it's not the same because it is literally the same 2D experience on a flat screen, just the size of the screen or the volume of the speakers. You can see a 3D
movie in the theaters, and you can't see the 3D movie yet on your phone. If you want
some phones you can.
Seats, some of you can, but not everyone has access to that. Only really hardcore enthusiasts have access to that.
Yep.
You're going to get D-box seats in your home.
No, but D-box seats are super rare anywhere in the world anyway, But yeah, I kind of understand like
Texas has standardized.
The experience is something that's the difference between the two. But it's still every movie that comes to theaters you could watch on your phone and have a similar type experience. Whereas like with Moss, I don't think that's a game you could play in 2D on a flat screen. Like they're gonna start. I think they're gonna branch apart Sprint Vector. I don't think you could nearly have anywhere near as fun playing with a DualShock. They're gonna start to find their own separate audiences, and it's gonna become its own thing. I think there's gonna be gaming, and then there's gonna be virtual reality.
Yeah, also virtual reality is gonna expand far beyond just gaming.
Yeah, it will.
It'll be a computational platform someday as well,
and an educational platform.
Definitely.
What if you could be on the moon, man?
Well, so my dad, he works for an insurance company, and they do these things now with simulations where you can be in VR and be inside of a burning building to kind of see what that, like how they would do insurance claim based on the virtual simulation of that fire. You don't want to be in the burning building. You'd rather be in that safe simulation.
Yep.
So it's like it applies to many different things. I'm going to buy a house in Greece. I'm not going to fly to Greece to do a bunch of house tours. I'm going to do virtual reality and walk, quote unquote, walk in those houses.
Yeah.
To get a sense of the space and, if I like the space or not. I think in terms of VR, though, when you're talking technological hurdles, I don't think most people would use it in its current state with the screen door effect and the low resolution.
Yeah.
It needs to have high resolution.
Yeah. Right now, it's a novelty.
Totally. It's a total novelty right now.
It's
one of those things
a useful tool until we make those tech improvements.
You still feel like you're in a space. You still feel like it's a different reality in a sense. But once the resolutions get kicked up and it's that, retina quality where you can't see the pixels at all, it's going to be mind-blowing.
Yep.
So very, very cool there.
Mind-boggling.
Those are some just kind of hurdles I had off the top of my head there. Can you think of anything else we didn't talk about at all?
No.
We covered it all?
Everything, every hurdle that's ever existed.
Every hurdle.
For the future of gaming. No, I think it's just kind of cool to have that little discussion there.
Yeah. Next week, we're going to kind of slightly continue this conversation and talk about the future of mobile games.
Yeah.
And kind of mobile games in general, and kind of what that means to us, because we really haven't talked much about mobile on this podcast.
We had that episode where we had like our favorite mobile games, where we talked about it a little bit, and you talked about Boost 2 a lot, but...
And Threes. Threes is a good game. So we're talking a little bit about that stuff, but if Nintendo does in fact announce a Direct, we're probably going to talk about that and push the mobile stuff till later.
Are you trying to skip our subscriber interrogative?
Oh my gosh, we have a subscriber interrogative?
Yeah, we have a subscriber interrogative.
Whoa, I didn't even notice. I'm an idiot.
Yep. This was a tweet from @InnisChadMike that was written on my screen and never tweeted, but just put in the note instead.
This is why I didn't see it.
Yes. So the question was, what game genres do you think are right up your alley, but you can never get into?
This is the perfect time to ask me this question.
Yeah?
So I'm getting a MacBook Pro.
Okay.
Very soon.
Okay.
And I have a MacBook currently, which doesn't do gaming very well. Not that Macs do gaming great anyway, but I'll finally be able to play a system that can play Civilization well. And it's kind of always felt up my alley, where it's like resource management, and like I like playing Catan a lot, and it's basically a really advanced version of Catan.
Yeah.
And it's so up my alley, but I've never gotten into those games before. But I think I'm going to give it a chance considering I'll kind of be in a better position to do that. But I've tried playing that game on like iPad before, and I just can't stand it on iPad. I don't know why. And by that same token, I should also really enjoy like SimCity and things like that. I've never gotten into a SimCity game. I just can't do it.
You never played any of those like roller coaster tycoons?
Nope.
No.
But it seems like it's right up my alley, but I've just never been able to get into it.
I've never been into those like resource management type things, like the SimCity or like Don't Starve or like survival type things. Like you mentioned in Metal Gear,
the nourishment
Survive.
system?
Yeah, the nourishment. Like you have to find food and water while you're also fighting zombies. Like that sounds miserable to me. But one thing that does kind of surprise me is RTS games. Every piece of an RTS game excites me. Like the battle, I'm a fan of turn-based JRPGs. I'm a fan of board games and kind of moving pieces around the board and finding like strategic positions. I'm a fan of light puzzles, which these tend to have as well. But for some reason, you put them all together in a Fire Emblem or an XCOM, and I'm just like, oh, that's the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. And it might
Except
be
Mario Rabbids.
Except for Rabbids, yeah. For some reason, I guess the charm of Rabbids, like Rabbids and Mario characters, kind of took that to a next level for me. But I think what might be the reason why I don't necessarily enjoy them so much is the very first time. This is so weird in my gaming history, but the very first time I ever saw an RTS game or like a strategy game in general was not until college. Like, I'd never seen a game like that. I'd never looked up a trailer for...
Wow, you should get
StarCraft.
out more.
I know. But as a kid, I would play like hack and slash games or JRPGs or...
Like fast-paced.
Right.
In the moment, yeah.
Or even like Halo and things like that on Xbox. But when I got to college, I saw my roommate at the time playing Fire Emblem. And that was the first time I was like, what are you playing? And he's like, I'm playing Fire Emblem. It's like, oh, so it's like a RPG and you're taking turn-based combat. And he's like, well, kind of, yeah, but then I also have to move my spaces on this grid. I was like, oh, and I watched him play it. It's like, this is so boring to watch. And apparently it's very fun to play.
Yeah, have you played it before, though?
I have not played Fire Emblem before.
You should.
I've tried out XCOM, but it's just like, yeah, that shit looks so boring to me, even though I like all of the individual elements.
I would say give Fire Emblem a chance. If you can actually, find a way to play Advance Wars, because that's what kind of struck a chord for me recently, or in this conversation, it kind of just came up in my head. I don't like RTSs that much because they're really, like, I don't know why, like, it feels realistic in a sense, and I don't like that. And games like Fire Emblem and Advance Wars gamify it.
Yeah.
And they make it a little bit more apparent what's happening, I think at least. And maybe I don't have enough experience with RTSs, like I haven't played StarCraft or anything like that. Or Warcraft, which actually I saw Warcraft recently.
The movie?
Yeah, it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a little bit. Not great, but I enjoyed it. Anyway, Advance Wars and Fire Emblem kind of simplify certain things, making other things complex, but like if I stand on a tree, I have better defense.
Yeah.
Like just kind of small things like that. And you don't have to think too much about like resource management and all that too much. They kind of simplify certain elements of it. Give those games a try. They're really good. Especially Fire Emblem Awakening on 3DS was amazing.
Well, I probably won't.
You should.
But if I come across those games and I don't have anything else to do.
And you don't want to hate yourself.
And I don't want to hate myself. Maybe I'll try it. Well, cool. Thanks, me, for that subscriber interrogative. Anyone else can also tweet that at Respawn Aimfire, Instagram us, slide in those DMs, put it on our Facebook wall, email us. Again, everything now is at Respawn Aimfire or facebook.com/Respawn Aimfire, respawnaimfire@gmail.com. And that's it for this week's episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Again, photo mode, very good chance of winning money.
Reminder of our BARF this month.
BARF this month is Far Cry 4. And again, BARF is Backlog Accomplishments with Respawn and Friends. I just call it BARF all the time. I forget what it stands for. And then, yeah, next week's topic, we'll be talking about the future of mobile games and or Nintendo Switch Direct, if that happens.
If that happens, yeah.
Everyone, enjoy your week.
Joining us.
We look forward to seeing your photo submissions. Until next week, goodbye.